Episode 55. This is the Inside Deschutes County podcast. Wherever you might be and however you might be listening, thank you for making us a small part of your day. You can subscribe on any podcast platform, and you can also find us at deschutes.org/podcast.
Deschutes County is an amazing place to live,
work, and play.
Great place to raise a family.
I love the weather and the high density.
At Deschutes County, we provide excellent service.
Beautiful.
We're here to help you.
Deschutes County is the heart of Oregon.
Everyone wants to be here.
Welcome to the Inside Deschutes County podcast. So glad you're with us. I'm Eric Breon. Well, today we're going to talk a little cybersecurity, a little AI, why they matter, and maybe how Deschutes County is working behind the scenes to protect sensitive information and our critical systems, all while trying to grow and evolve at the same time. A little bit of a tricky balance. My guest today is here to help explain it all. Zach Neemann, the county's information security manager, is here. Zach, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric.
Well, I think whether you're tech savvy or not, I think there's a lot of interest in this topic, in this conversation. Maybe people might not want to miss it. So, Zach, why don't you dig in? Tell me a little bit about your role as information security manager at the county.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So my role as the information security manager is fairly new. The county and central IT came up with a position about a year and a half ago to try to centralize our approach to security, how we protect our data, how we protect the citizens of Deschutes County's data, and also how we deal with the emerging threats that are currently out there in our digital landscape.
So, I mean, I think we have a pretty good idea, but what are some of those big cybersecurity threats kind of facing county governments right now? Pretty much anybody, but I mean, specifically county governments, there's a lot of nuance there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of threats, and the threats change all the time. And so trying to stay up on what the dangers are to the data that Deschutes County stores on all of its residents, on all the data that we handle every day, is pretty dynamic. Threats with regard to ransomware or phishing exploitations, where they're trying to gain credentials from a county employee so they can exfiltrate data, personal information, health information, or criminal justice information. Those are all things that we store here, and it's tricky. Really, at the end of the day, cybersecurity is how do you balance the needs of the business while trying to respond to the risk and the threat out in the world. So, I mean,
tricky is kind of the word of the podcast so far. How do you assess and prioritize among? I mean, you mentioned just a few of them. There are so many different departments with so many different needs and so much data that they're bringing in, protecting. That's got to be tricky.
Yeah, I think tricky is a good word. Yeah. I think we have 25-ish departments with vastly
just a
different
little
needs.
bit.
Yeah, vastly different needs. They store vast amounts of data on themselves, on citizens of Deschutes County, and trying to capture all of that in one policy or one way we handle data is next to impossible. So I try to partner with all of our department heads, all of our departments, in understanding their business needs, and business function, so that we can most appropriately mitigate the risks that we see every day.
So peel back the curtain a little bit for me. So you said it's a new role, fairly new role. You and I've talked before, and I know what your office is like, but I'm thinking it's like before I met you, I was thinking like command center, like monitors on the wall, tracking all this stuff, like, putting out fires left and right, seeing all these, fake scams coming in, kind of walk me through how your day goes, because I imagine it's a little like a dartboard. you're just kind of putting out fires, right? Like constantly, because those scams, those threats are non-stop.
Yeah. So I would say a day in the life of, well, a balanced day or a day that I would see as my ideal day would be balanced between both response, those fires that you talk about putting out, and then the other side of that would be forward thinking, cultural shifts, configurations and changes that make an impact in the future, not necessarily just the reactive side of solving the problem that showed up. So probably to peel back the curtain a little more, on any given day, we receive, intelligence and information about specific threats, whether that be an email that came in from a business email compromise, or whether that be a threat actor group that's acting against state and local governments from specific IP addresses. And I try to address those as they come in. And then the other half of that is trying to develop strategic initiatives that will keep us safer in the long term. They may not be addressing an active threat, but knowing that if we make a configuration change, if we make a change or a setting across the county, it's going to help us in the future, next month, 2 years from now, whatever. And whether that be acquiring a right enterprise application, or whether it be making a configuration change, or even a cultural shift, those are things that I try to tackle from that kind of bigger picture. So kind of both sides of the coin, the response side and the planning and
the strategy
side.
Yeah. It's almost like you're a detective. It's almost like your background is in like law enforcement or something.
Yeah, it's you know me too well, Eric. Yeah, so I spent the first 19 and a half years here with the county, with the sheriff's office. And starting in 2011, I worked in the digital forensic lab, investigating and dealing with digital threats and digital evidence. And so that's kind of where my background is. And then here at the county, I get to leverage some of that background as well as some of the kind of the strategy and overarching goals of the county.
What kind of threats concern you? I mean, because all of them for sure, but I mean the ones that are, because they just change all the time. And I imagine now with AI being a little bit more prominent, we'll talk about that. But I imagine they're getting more creative. They're getting a little bit more, high level of how they're accessing things. What kind of threat concerns you the most?
Yeah, well, what kind of threat doesn't concern me? What doesn't keep me up at night is probably a better one. But at the end of the day, the biggest, scariest one in the room is always ransomware. Counties like Curry County and other city and state government organizations around the United States have been hit with ransomware, and it really does put a stop to business for the county. So that's obviously one that always keeps me up at night. But, the reality is the access has to start somewhere. And a lot of the small decisions that users make every day, to click on a link, to download a software, to, all of those little choices can equal up to big consequences. And so, for me, the big threat is always, or the big worry is always ransomware, because it's such a prevalent and major topic. But at the end of the day, knowing that all those little things and all those cultural shifts in education and, all of the little things that I'm trying to, we as Central IT are trying to make changes to make an impact to that.
What about attacks that are out of your control? Like Microsoft just got hacked big time. Yeah. And we are kind of heavy Microsoft users. I mean, how do you navigate that?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think all software, whether it's Microsoft or anybody else, they have 0 days regularly, and 0 day just means that it was a previously unknown exploitation of something. The SharePoint one was a great example this last weekend, and so really, there's no way to respond to all of those. Well, I don't mean to respond those, to preemptively deal with all of those. A lot of those are going to come out as a community-wide kind of notice, and then we respond. We take action depending on the severity, depending on the criticality of our assets and data, and so on. So at some point, we can plan for some things. We can strategically plan for initiatives, for settings and configurations. And there's always going to be those ones that you just didn't know about, was unplanned, and you got to deal with it when it comes and hits you in the face.
And they come fast and furious.
They do.
They hit you hard. You and I could probably talk for hours and have a long podcast about AI. And for those that don't know, I work in digital communications for the county. And so there's all kinds of AI tools out there, but there's also AI that people use as bad actors, right? Like, how is artificial intelligence changing the cybersecurity landscape? Because, I imagine they're taking those tools and now applying it to the ransomware, the phishing, the codes, all the things that are, creating these attacks. And is that something? What do you do about that?
Yeah, I think the best way to, for that help me wrap my head around it is, threat actors are no different than us. That's just their business is bad, right? Their business is trying to engage and exfiltrate data, trying to get access, and that's their business. And so much like we and people in the community use AI to conduct their business, the threat actors are using AI to their benefit and to leverage it for their business or the bad that they're trying to conduct. And so it really has changed how we do business, not just the threat actors, but how we do business. It provides an easy way to access information. It provides an easy way to make changes to data or to come up with new ideas, to generate new content. And much the way we would use it in our business, they're using it in theirs. And so generating new ideas and new content and new scripts and new code and new phishing emails and all of the things, right, to analyze data that comes into their behalf or to them is really how they're using it. And so just much like how we use it for our business, they're using it for theirs.
Yeah, they can create these things faster, a little bit more fast and furious, right? About like, you can put in a prompt and it can be not for good.
Yeah, I did a demo in our last community engagement that we did, that we have once a year for citizens to come in and partner with the county and see how the county does business. And for the demo for that, we used AI to create and generate a phishing email, and it was pretty eye-opening.
Not that we're telling people to do that.
Yeah,
don't do that at home.
I know. I was doing a fun.
That's a balance too, right?
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you, but that's like the things that we have to do to protect ourselves is also educating people on what to do sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway when I talk to people about AI and how it's utilized is really it should level up your thought about what you're putting into the platform. What information are you asking it to ingest? Are you asking it to create? Are you asking it to know about you? I know people use it for all sorts of different avenues to accomplish goals, but really at some point, all of that data is trained on, ingested, and that's why there's so much information at the fingertips of those generative AI tools. And no different than the threat actors or us or anybody else, really being cautious in what we put into those tools about ourselves is the most important.
So, Zach, how do people stay sharp? Right? We have, I don't know the exact number, 1,200 employees, county employees. We've got, public information, health information that we're protecting. We've got the county clerk's office has, all kinds of things. How do you keep everybody sharp to be prepared for these evolving threats? Do you do simulations? Do you do testing? How do you keep us educated as to how this is all evolving?
Yeah, I think from the county's perspective and where we try to go is education is key. Trying to get people informed. I'm fortunate enough, and I love meeting all the new hires when they come through. I get to spend about 30 minutes with all the new hires, and obviously being the security manager, a lot of that is focused on security. But it's a great time to start the education. We have October coming up, which is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So we'll issue a campaign and some training with regard to cybersecurity. We do regular phishing campaigns to try to help people understand the red flags and the warnings and where to see and find issues when you receive something that you don't know if it's a threat. So we do a lot of things that try to tackle education first, because that's where everything's going to start. That's probably the starting place for that. As far as AI specifically, we try to provide knowledge base to our staff members and the people here at Deschutes County to give them kind of information, knowledge, best practices, and so on. So we've created training videos on how to best protect yourself while using AI, how to use it effectively and efficiently. And then we've procured products that and solutions that allow us to be safe while using it, as opposed to sitting on the background and hoping that everything goes all right. We're trying to get a step ahead of that and give people the tools and the ability to do their job safely and effectively utilizing AI.
This is a public-facing podcast, and so I want to kind of tell people a little bit about kind of what the county's usage is or guidance is on usage for employees. So I know we use GovAI, but there are it seems like AI is embedded into almost every program now. It's embedded into things like Canva or Facebook, or it's on Twitter/X. I mean, it's everywhere, right? So what is the county's guidance, or maybe not to talk policy, but what do you tell people to do and to use?
Yeah. So I'll take this kind of two pieces, right? Kind of speaking to the general public, and then I'll finish it out with what we do here. The most important thing that anyone can do, regardless if they're here or not, is truly be educated, understanding what's happening with the data, what's being trained on, how the application is working, what it's expected to do. I will throw myself and others like me under the bus. Most of the time when people start using any software, any application, it's the I agree, next, as fast as you can go.
As quickly as you can.
To get to the end product and the goal. And really you're skipping that step of knowledge gathering of what is this company doing with my data? How are they using it? How does it work? And that's a really important piece that I think is probably the most important for the public. And so what do we do here at the county? I do that on behalf of all of the employees here at the county. So I am fortunate enough to be a part of the procurement process with our procurement and legal and kind of the IT and security side, where I get to review all of those terms and conditions and, all of those end user license
You've
agreements.
You've done that for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I get to review all those and make sure, that I understand for the county and all of our employees what's happening with our data and how secure is this.
And then, just how do you stay ahead of it all? Because it's like every time I turn around, there's something new, and it's got an AI aspect to it.
Yeah, well,
and you're just one man. I know IT is a full team, but in terms of the security nuts and bolts, you're the guy. How do you stay ahead?
Yeah, so I leverage some tools, but at the end of the day,
AI.
Yeah,
you use AI.
Yeah. But just like you'd eat an apple, one bite at a time. So we try to prioritize best we can to get to the most important things first, or the things that the county and the administration deem as the number one priority. And so we just go one bite at a time, and sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's fast, depending on the organization and how prepared they are in the rollout.
Are there new tools or policies or systems that you're looking to implement for the county, either A, to make them more efficient, or B, to protect public information?
Yeah, it's great. We utilize lots of tools across the county in all 25 departments. All departments are looking, how can they leverage their money and resources in the most fiscally responsible way for the citizens here. And so they're always auditing their software, their usage. Is there something in a software that's new? Is there an AI feature that's new that they want to utilize to use use their time the most wisely? And I would say for the most part, our employees have been fantastic as far as reaching out and asking, is this something I can use? How do I use this? What can we procure this software? And so, it's great. We just kind of take one thing at a time and try to find the balance between the best for the business and the best for safety and security.
What are the nerves like? I mean, because some people are probably like, can I use this? And then the supervisors, managers, department heads, elected officials, might be a little wary of its use for work.
Yeah.
Because it's, for some people, it's shortcuts, but I look at it efficiency, and help speeding up some mundane tasks. But what are the nerves like for people?
Yeah, I would say, much like anything, the nerves are more like I see a tendency towards avoidance when they're nervous. When they don't know the product, there's a tendency towards nerves, and that's why we went forward with a product that has some great guardrails on it and has some amazing ability for us to configure its limitations and some technical controls around it.
You're talking about the GovAI.
About the GovAI, solution that we have here at the county, so that hopefully that gives users like yourself and others the confidence to at least try, because they know that the data is secure and safe. For the general public, I think. I have found in my personal life that people avoid due to their comfort. And then once they get in and they see the power, they immediately go dive into the deep end and start using it for everything. Yeah. And I would say, just like I said before, education and knowledge is the key. There's not one product that's perfect. Everything has its downfalls and advantages. And I think the knowledge that you can gain by research, by looking into the product, by looking at the end user license agreements is super helpful in understanding what's happening. But I would say kind of the general rule of thumb is, if you have something confidential, something that you deem as private or sensitive or something else, I would probably just say, don't feed that to an AI solution.
Don't do it.
Yeah. That's probably a good rule of thumb, overarching, for people outside of the county. Because, like I said, we have procured a solution that allows us to utilize AI in a way that it doesn't retain, doesn't train, and that it redacts a lot of that personal stuff before it even goes outbound to AI.
Well, and the product's not always perfect.
For sure.
The advice that I was given was treat it like an intern. And that's no knock on interns out there who do great work. But sometimes you got to check their work, right, before the information or whatever they're working on goes out. Yeah. You don't just hand them the keys to the car without double checking. Yeah. And AI is kind of a little similar.
Yeah. I've always used the analogy of treat it like the smartest blank slate you've ever talked to in your life. Meaning that, when I come and sit down with you, Eric, I know you deal with public information, you deal with podcasts, you deal with videos, Facebook and social media. I kind of understand your background and what my question is going to be framed by. AI is not like that. It has your knowledge and my knowledge and administrator's knowledge and Rhodes' knowledge and everything else. And you really need to frame your question in a way with prompting, so that you're telling it what its role is, what its persona is, what kind of a response you're expecting back from it, because it truly is a blank slate.
Give people a little bit of perspective on GovAI, because having a tool that's designed for government is interesting. And I don't know if a lot of people know that, but why would that tool be valuable for government agencies?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think GovAI, when we first looked at it and kind of approached them as a vendor, it was really for hey, what can you do from a government perspective that's different than other solutions out there? And what we found is that they utilize the same backend of the same large language model that Copilot and ChatGPT and others utilize in OpenAI. But what they try to do is they try to provide us much more configurability and access to the front end of what gets added to the context of your prompt before it leaves and goes outbound. The nice thing is that they have an agreement. They have a lot of technical controls put in place where there's no training, there's no retention, there's protections built into where if you input personal data, that gets stripped out before it ever goes outbound. And so really it was designed for government usage so that it can protect the government entities against liability for accidental data leakage, where somebody accidentally put in too much information or accidentally put in confidential data that shouldn't have been there. And so it really has that layer of protection at the forefront. And so it was a great option for us, and so far it's been a great platform. I would say the one thing that people get wrong is that currently we're hearing a lot of questions about other AI tools as people start utilizing it. And usually the example I give is that, without much additional context or personas or data, you're getting the most raw access to OpenAI. And so, other companies like Copilot or Gemini or ChatGPT or others, they're front-ending your prompt with some additional information about you, right? About your profile, about what you like, about your previous prompts, about other things are all going with it. And so, if you have questions or our county employees have questions about it, I always encourage them to call me so I can help them find the best way to leverage the tool they can.
Is that the advice that you would give to most county employees or even the public? I mean, not to call you, but I mean to, just to double check, before they do stuff that they're maybe not. I mean, like, what is the one piece of advice you would give to county employees about AI or about, or even attacks, phishing attacks or ransom, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say for county employees, leverage the training that we've provided. And if you're still running into problems or errors, just call me. I'm always available for county employees. For the general public, I would say I go back to education. Educate yourself and think before you click. I think that's probably the most apt advice I can give to anybody, and that's via email, website. Somebody told me a long time ago, free isn't ever free, right? Yeah. And most of the time when people are searching something, whether it be in AI or Google or Bing or whatever they're using, DuckDuckGo, free is the first word they put in front of software, application, photos, backgrounds, wallpapers, and to be honest, the threats are gonna capitalize on that's the most common request. And so think before you click is probably the most important. Yeah,
that should be a PSA campaign for the county. I mean, literally, because I think about my mom, in her 70s now. Sorry to throw that age out there, Mom. But, it's changing so often, and it comes in so many different ways, either attacks or, AI usage, that kind of thing. The education, right? I mean, it almost has to be like a little side job, to kind of make sure you're figuring these things out before you're diving in.
Yeah.
You must love this work.
I do.
I mean, you're just kind of like in the tech, in the investigations and finding this out. Fun stuff, man.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, super cool. Zach, thanks so much for explaining what the county does, a little bit of information about what the work here, how that can impact the public. Lots of good information. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks, Eric.
We really hope you enjoyed this conversation. Our goal is to provide you with information about county services and talk to the people who do such great work for the people who live in our community. If you have questions about this podcast or ideas for future podcasts, you can email us at communications@deschutes.org. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or stream episodes anytime at deschutes.org/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we hope you'll click those subscribe and download buttons. It helps others find the show and it lets us know you're tuning in. But until next time, please be safe out there.